Thomas Avery was sweating. This was strange, because Thomas Avery never sweated. He wore suits that cost more than most people's cars. He lived in a building so tall you could see clouds from his window. He had 17 people working for him, and every single one of them was afraid to make him angry. But right now, at 3 o'clock on a Tuesday afternoon, Thomas Avery was sweating. The phone on his giant desk was ringing. Not the normal ring, this was the special ring. The one that meant someone very, very important was calling. Someone from far away. Someone with $866 million. $866 million. That's more money than you could count in your whole life. More money than a mountain of birthday presents. More money than anything you could imagine. And Thomas was about to lose it all. "Sir?" His assistant, Margaret, knocked on the door. Her voice was shaky. "Sir, it's Mr. Auerman. He's calling from Dubai. He's been waiting for 5 minutes." Thomas looked at the phone like it was a snake. "Where's Roberto?" he asked. His voice was tight, like a rope pulled too hard. "Roberto is on vacation, sir. Remember? You told him to go visit his mother in—" "I know where Roberto is," Thomas snapped. Roberto was his translator. The man who could speak Arabic as easily as breathing. The man Thomas needed right now. Margaret stepped back. I called every translator in the city. No one can come for at least 2 hours. And Mr. Auerman said he only has 15 minutes before his next meeting. 15 minutes. That's how long Thomas had to convince a man from across the world to trust him with nearly $1 billion. 15 minutes to explain his plan, answer questions, and make the deal happen. Without anyone to translate the words. Thomas picked up the phone. His hand was shaking. "Hello, Mr. Auerman? This is Thomas Avery. I apologize, but..." A stream of Arabic flowed through the phone. Beautiful, musical words that Thomas couldn't understand. Not a single one. "I'm sorry," Thomas said. Roberto isn't here today. Can we reschedule?" More Arabic. The voice sounded frustrated now. Impatient. Thomas closed his eyes. He was losing the deal. Right now. This second. Years of work, hundreds of emails, dozens of meetings, all disappearing because he couldn't speak the right language. "Margaret," he called. "Is there anyone in this building who speaks Arabic?" Margaret's face went pale. "I'll check, sir." She ran out. Thomas could hear her heels clicking down the hallway, faster and faster. He heard her asking people, "Do you speak Arabic? What about you? Anyone? Please." The voice on the phone spoke again. Slower this time. Thomas could hear the disappointment in it. The man was saying goodbye. "Wait." Thomas shouted into the phone. "Please wait. Just 1 more minute." In the hallway outside Thomas's office, a little girl was sitting on the floor. Her name was Isla, and she was 8 years old. She had brown skin, dark eyes, and hair pulled back in 2 braids. She wore a simple blue dress that was a little too big for her, and she was reading a book. Not a picture book. A real book with lots of words. Isla loved words more than anything in the world. English words, Spanish words, French words, but especially Arabic words. Arabic was the language her grandmother spoke before she died. The language that sounded like music and poetry mixed together. Isla's mother, Miriam, cleaned Mr. Avery's office every Tuesday. Usually, Isla waited in the lobby downstairs. But today, the lobby was being painted, so Miriam had told her daughter to sit quietly in the hallway. "Don't bother anyone," she'd said. "Just read your book and be invisible." Isla was very good at being invisible. People walked past her all the time without seeing her. She was just the cleaning lady's daughter. Nobody important. But Isla heard everything. She heard Margaret running down the hall, asking her questions. She heard the panic in everyone's voices. She heard Thomas shouting into the phone. And through the open door, she heard something else. Arabic. The words floated out of Thomas's office like a sad song. Isla closed her book. She knew those words. She'd been learning Arabic for 3 years, ever since she found her grandmother's old books in the attic. She taught herself using library books and videos on the computer at school. Her neighbor, Mr. Hassan, an old man from Egypt, had been teaching her every Saturday morning for a year. "I want to be a translator when I grow up," she told Mr. Hassan last week. "I want to help people understand each other." Mr. Hassan had smiled. "You have a gift, little one. Your accent is perfect. But translation isn't just about words, it's about trust."
Trust.
Isla stood up. Her legs felt wobbly, like they were made of water instead of bones. "Mama," she called softly. Her mother came out of one of the side offices, carrying a trash bag. "Isla, baby, I told you to stay quiet. These are important people. They're very busy." "Mama, I can help." Miriam frowned. "Help with what?" "The man on the phone. He's speaking Arabic. I can understand him." Her mother's eyes went wide. "Isla, no. These are business people. This is serious grown-up work. You're just a little girl." "But Mama..."
No.
Miriam's voice was firm. "Stay here. Don't move." She hurried into Thomas's office to empty his trash can. Isla sat back down, but her heart was beating fast, like a bird trapped in a cage. She could hear Thomas's voice getting more desperate. She could hear him saying words wrong, trying to speak Arabic, but making a mess of it. The man on the phone spoke again. This time, Isla heard the finality in his voice. He was saying goodbye. He was ending the call. Something inside Isla broke free. She stood up. Her book fell to the floor. Her feet carried her to the doorway of Thomas's office. Margaret saw her first. "Little girl, you can't be in here." But Isla was already walking toward the desk.
Toward the phone.
Toward the man who was about to lose everything. "Sir," Isla said. Her voice was small but clear. "I can help you." Thomas looked at her. Really looked at her. He saw a child in a too big dress, with braids and scared eyes. But he also saw something else. Hope. "You speak Arabic?" he whispered. Isla nodded. Thomas's hand moved before his brain could stop it. He pressed the speaker button and turned the phone toward her. "Please," he said. "Save me." Isla took a deep breath. And then in perfect, beautiful Arabic, she spoke. "Hello, sir. My name is Isla. Mr. Avery is very sorry for the confusion. He wants very much to talk with you about your business together. May I help translate?" The phone was silent for 3 long seconds. Then, the man on the other end laughed. A surprised, delighted laugh. And in Arabic, he said, "Well, this is interesting. Yes, little one. You may help. Let's see what you can do." Isla smiled. The impossible had just become possible. Mr. Auermann's voice came through the speaker again, speaking in Arabic. This time, it was gentler. Curious. "Tell me, child, how old are you? And how does a little girl in America learn to speak my language?" Isla felt everyone's eyes on her. Thomas, Margaret, her mother, who stood frozen by the door with her cleaning supplies. But she focused on the voice. Just the voice. "I am 8 years old, sir," she said in Arabic. "My grandmother was from Lebanon. She taught me that language is like a bridge. It helps people meet in the middle." Mr. Auermann was quiet for a moment. Then he said something that made Isla's heart jump. "Your grandmother was wise. Very well. I will give Mr. Avery 10 minutes because you asked nicely. But I want you to translate everything exactly as I say it."
Can you do that?
"Yes, sir. I promise." Isla turned to Thomas. "In English," she said, "Mr. Auermann will give you 10 minutes. He wants me to translate everything exactly." Thomas let out a breath he'd been holding. "Thank you. Thank you so much." He straightened his tie and sat up taller. "Okay, tell him this." Thomas began to speak, and Isla translated. But it wasn't easy. Not at all. Thomas used big, complicated words. Words like infrastructure and investment portfolio and quarterly projections. Words that even grown-ups sometimes didn't understand. Isla's hands got sweaty. What if she got it wrong? What if she said something that ruined everything? She thought about what Mr. Hassan had taught her. When you don't know a big word, use small words that mean the same thing. The point is to make people understand each other, not to sound fancy. So when Thomas said infrastructure, Isla said the roads and buildings we need. When he said investment portfolio, she said the different ways we'll use the money. When he said quarterly projections, she said what we think will happen every 3 months. Mr. Al-Rahman listened. Then he spoke. Tell Mr. Avery this, he said in Arabic. I appreciate his big plans. But I have a question. Why should I trust him with so much money? We have never done business before. We have never even met face to face. Isla translated. She watched Thomas's face turn red. That's a fair question, Thomas said. He tapped his fingers on the desk. He was thinking hard. Tell him that I've been in business for 20 years. I've never failed a project. I have references. I have. Isla held up her hand. Thomas stopped talking, surprised. Nobody interrupted Thomas Avery. Sir, Isla said quietly. That's not what he wants to know. What do you mean? He doesn't want to hear about your past. He wants to know why he should trust you now. With this much money. Isla bit her lip. My teacher, Mr. Hassan, says that in Arab culture, trust is built slowly. Like building a house. You start with one brick, then another brick. You don't build the whole house in one day. Thomas stared at her. Then slowly he nodded. You're right.
Okay.
Tell him this. Thomas leaned toward the phone.
His voice was different now.
Calmer. More honest. Tell Mr. Al-Rahman that I understand his concern. I wouldn't trust someone with $866 million either, not if I'd never worked with them before. So here's what I propose. Let's start small. Isla translated. She could hear the surprise in Mr. Al-Rahman's voice when he responded. Start small? What does that mean? Thomas explained, and Isla put it into Arabic. Instead of $866 million all at once, let's do $50 million first. We'll use that money for the first part of the project, just the planning and the early building. When you see that we do good work, when you see that we keep our promises, then we talk about the rest of the money. There was a long silence on the phone. Isla held her breath. Margaret held her breath. Even Miriam, standing by the door, held her breath. Then Mr. Al-Rahman spoke. His voice was warm now, like sunshine. That, he said in Arabic, is the first smart thing I've heard today.
Yes.
I like this idea. But I have one condition. What condition? Isla asked. I want reports every month. Not fancy reports with big words. Simple reports that I can understand. Reports that tell me the truth, the good things and the bad things. Can Mr. Avery do that? Isla translated. Thomas nodded, so hard his glasses almost fell off.
Yes.
Absolutely yes. Monthly reports, simple and honest. I promise. The conversation continued. Back and forth, back and forth. Mr. Al-Rahman asked about timelines. Thomas answered. Mr. Al-Rahman asked about safety. Thomas explained. Every time Thomas used a word that was too complicated, Isla made it simpler. Every time Mr. Al-Rahman had a concern, Isla made sure Thomas understood not just the words, but the feeling behind them. 10 minutes passed. Then 15. Then 20. Mr. Al-Rahman didn't hang up. Finally, he said, Mr. Avery, I have another meeting now. But I like what I've heard. Send me the papers for the $50 million project. Have your lawyers talk to my lawyers. If everything looks good, we begin next month. Isla translated. Thomas's face broke into the biggest smile she'd ever seen. Thank you, Mr. Al-Rahman. Thank you so much. I won't let you down. I know you won't, Mr. Al-Rahman said. Because you have something more valuable than money or fancy words. You have that little girl, Isla. He said her name in Arabic, making it sound like a song. Yes, sir, Isla said. You did something very brave today. You helped two people understand each other. That is a gift. Never lose it. Isla's eyes got wet. I won't, sir. I promise. Good. Now I must go. Mr. Avery, I will wait for your papers.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. And thank you. The phone clicked off. For 3 seconds, nobody moved. Nobody breathed. Nobody spoke. Then Thomas jumped up from his chair. We did it. We actually did it. Margaret started laughing and crying at the same time. The other workers who'd gathered in the doorway started clapping. But Thomas wasn't looking at them. He was looking at Isla. He walked around his huge desk. His expensive shoes clicked on the marble floor. And then, in front of everyone, Thomas Avery did something nobody had ever seen him do before. He knelt down. He got down on his knees so he could look Isla right in the eyes. "You saved me," he whispered. "You saved everything." Isla didn't know what to say. Her voice came out tiny. "I just wanted to help." "You did more than help." Thomas's eyes were shiny now, like he might cry. "You showed me something I'd forgotten. Something important."
What?
Thomas smiled. "That the best bridges aren't made of steel or stone. They're made of people like you." Miriam finally moved. She dropped her cleaning supplies and rushed forward, pulling Isla into her arms. "Baby, I can't believe. You were so brave. I'm so proud of you." Tears rolled down her mother's cheeks. Isla had only seen her mama cry twice before, once when Grandma died, and once when they didn't have enough money for rent and a kind neighbor helped them. But these were different tears. Happy tears. "Mama, don't cry," Isla whispered. "I'm crying because I'm happy, baby. So happy." Margaret wiped her own eyes with a tissue. That was incredible. Just incredible. The other workers nodded and murmured. A man in a gray suit said, "I've worked here for 12 years, and I've never seen anything like that." But Thomas wasn't done. He stood up and straightened his jacket.
His face had changed.
The hard, scary look was gone. Now he looked softer.
Kinder.
Like a different person. "Miriam," he said. Isla's mother looked up, startled. In all the years she'd cleaned this office, Mr. Avery had never said her name. He usually just called her the cleaning lady or didn't speak to her at all. "Yes, sir?" Thomas looked at her, then at Isla, then back at her. "How long have you worked for this company?" 6 years, sir." 6 years. Thomas shook his head slowly. 6 years you've been coming here every Tuesday. And I never once asked about you. Never asked if you had a family. Never even looked at you properly. Miriam's voice was quiet. "That's okay, sir. I'm just here to clean."
No.
Thomas's voice was firm. "That's not okay. And I'm sorry." Everyone in the room gasped. Thomas Avery didn't apologize. Not ever.
Not to anyone.
But he wasn't finished. Thomas walked to his desk and pressed a button. "Sarah, come to my office right now, please. And bring the HR folder." Sarah from Human Resources appeared in less than a minute, carrying a folder. She looked confused. "Sir, you needed something?" "Yes." Thomas turned to Miriam. "You're getting a raise. Effective immediately. Double what you're making now." Miriam's mouth fell open. "Sir, I don't understand. You raised an incredible daughter. That takes sacrifice. Hard work.
Love.
The least I can do is pay you what you deserve." Thomas wrote something on a piece of paper and handed it to Sarah. "Make it happen." "Yes, sir," Sarah said, looking shocked but pleased. Then Thomas turned to Isla. He reached into his desk drawer and pulled out his checkbook. Everyone watched as he wrote, his pen scratching across the paper. He tore out the check and held it up. Margaret gasped. So did Miriam. $50,000? Miriam whispered. "Sir, that's too much, we can't." Thomas shook his head. "This isn't a gift. It's an investment." He looked at Isla. "This money is for you, Isla. For your education. For language classes, books, tutors, whatever you need to become the translator you want to be." Isla's heart was beating so fast, she thought it might fly out of her chest. "Really? Really? But that's not all." Thomas knelt down again, so he was at her level. "When you finish high school, if you work hard and keep learning, I want you to come work for my company. Not as a cleaning lady, as a translator. A professional translator with a real office and a real salary. Will you do that?" Isla couldn't speak. She could only nod, tears streaming down her face. "Good." Thomas stood up. "But I want you to promise me something."
"What?"
"Promise me you'll never forget what you did today. You didn't just translate words. You taught me something important, something I'd forgotten because I got too proud and too rich. What did I teach you? Isla asked. Thomas looked around the room at all his workers. Then he looked at the phone. Then at the check in his hand. Finally, he looked back at Isla. You taught me that money doesn't build bridges. People do. Respect does. Kindness does. His voice got softer. I spent years trying to impress Mr. Auermann with big numbers and fancy words. But you won him over in 20 minutes just by being honest and brave. He handed the check to Miriam, who took it with shaking hands. The world has enough rich people, Thomas said. What it needs is more people like Isla. People who listen. People who care. People who build bridges instead of walls. Margaret started clapping. Then Sarah. Then everyone in the room. The sound filled the office like thunder. Isla buried her face in her mother's shoulder, overwhelmed by it all. That night, Isla sat at the small table in their tiny apartment. The check was on the table in front of her, along with the letter Thomas had written. The letter said that he was setting up a special education fund just for her. It would pay for the best language schools, the best teachers, everything she needed. I can't believe this is real, Miriam said, making tea in the kitchen. This morning we were worried about paying for your school supplies. Now everything's different, Isla finished. Her mother came over and kissed the top of her head. You know what your grandma would say? What? She'd say, see? I told you words were magic. Isla smiled. Then she picked up her Arabic book, the one Grandma had given her, and kept reading. She had a lot to learn. A whole future to build. One word at a time. 3 months later, Isla started at the best language school in the city. She studied Arabic, Spanish, French, and Mandarin. Every Saturday, she still visited Mr. Hassan, who cried with joy when he heard her story. You didn't just translate words, he told her. You translated hope. Thomas Avery kept his promise too. The deal with Mr. Auermann went perfectly. They started with the $50 million project, finished it on time, and built trust. Eventually, they did the full $866 million partnership, one of the biggest deals in the company's history. But Thomas changed after that day. He learned the names of everyone who worked for him. He asked about their families. He paid them fairly. And every time he started a new project, he thought about what Isla had taught him. Start small, build trust, keep it simple. 1 year after the phone call, Thomas invited Isla to his office. It was the same office, but somehow it felt warmer now. There were pictures on the walls, pictures of his workers and their families, pictures of his projects. And right in the center, a picture of that Tuesday afternoon, Thomas kneeling in front of a little girl in a too big blue dress. I want to show you something, Thomas said. He pointed to a plaque on his desk. It was made of wood and had words carved into it. Money doesn't build bridges. People do. I look at this every single day, Thomas said, to remind me what really matters. Isla smiled. Mr. Auermann sent me a letter last week. He did. He said that when I become a translator, he wants to hire me too. He said the world needs more people who understand that language isn't about showing off. It's about bringing people together. Thomas laughed. Well, you're going to be very busy then. Everyone will want to hire you. I hope so, Isla said, because I want to help as many people as I can. 10 years later, Isla graduated from university at the top of her class. She spoke 7 languages fluently. She had job offers from companies all over the world. But she kept her promise. On her first day of work, Isla walked into Thomas Avery's company wearing a professional suit and carrying a briefcase. She had her own office with her name on the door. Isla Ahmad, senior translator. Her mother worked there too, not as a cleaning lady anymore, but as the head of the building services department, managing a whole team. And on Isla's desk in a frame was a picture of that Tuesday afternoon when she was 8 years old. The day a little girl saved an $866 million deal. The day she learned that courage matters more than age. The day she discovered that sometimes the smallest voices can make the biggest difference. Because it's true. Money doesn't build bridges. People do. Respect does. Kindness does. And sometimes, all it takes is one brave little girl and a phone call that changes everything.
The end.
Did this story inspire you? Did it make you believe that anyone, no matter how small or young, can make a difference? If it touched your heart, please hit that like button below. Share this story with someone who needs to hear it today. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another incredible story of courage, hope, and human connection. Your support helps us bring more amazing true stories to life. What did you think of Isla's bravery? Drop a comment below and let us know. See you in the next story.